All right, so as we know, Justin Gaethje, the human highlight reel, will be performing at UFC 310, and we have an opponent. You know it by now. It's Rafael Fiziev. This, of course, will be a rematch of the first fight that they had way back at UFC 286 in London at the O2 Arena. These two went toe-to-toe for 3 rounds. It was an all-striking affair, a very entertaining matchup, and a pretty close fight. In my opinion, Rafael Fiziev won the first, beautiful striking, and in rounds 2 and 3, Gaethje made the adjustments, used the uppercut to beautiful effect, and walked away with a 29-28 victory. Now, I spoke to Gaethje yesterday. He says that scorecard was absolutely bullshit.
This is #1 bullshit.
Feels like he won all 3 rounds, and coming into this one, even though he got knocked out cold by Max Holloway last time out, he's coming into this one extremely confident. Now, of course, he should be, because Fiziev is taking this on short notice, and it is a rematch. The first time was close, as I said. Now, Fiziev hasn't had a full camp, so he's going to come out there in the first round, then he's going to look for the knockout. And if he doesn't get it, then he's going to start slowing down as the fight progresses, of course. So I think in that first round, Rafael Fiziev is going to be very, very dangerous, because number one, Gaethje got knocked out last time out. Number 2, Fiziev is like, oh my God, let's go. The chin's been cracked. Now I'm going to smash the rest of it. And number 3, he can't go 15 minutes at a regular pace. So he's going to go hell for leather in round 1. And if he doesn't get the finish, he's probably going to fade away as the fight progresses. But what do I know? Maybe he's been out there in Kazakhstan or wherever he's from, just bloody absolutely training like a madman, going crazy in the mountains, right? Regardless, Fiziev is one of the best strikers in the UFC. And for Justin Gaethje, not a lot changes here. Of course, he was supposed to fight Dan Hooker, who's a tall, long, rangy striker. Rafael Fiziev is a little bit shorter, but he's still going to operate on the feet, okay? So from Gaethje's perspective, nothing changes. It's another striking matchup. And in fact, when I spoke to him yesterday, he said the only thing that changes is that if I shoot on Fiziev, I'm not going to be in danger of getting submitted. Of course, Dan Hooker, very tall for the division, very long arms. If he goes for a guillotine or a darce or anything like that, the blade, this part of the arm, is even more lethal when they dig it in to do a guillotine or whatever, because the arm's skinnier and lankier and bonier. Those submissions hurt even more and you tap way quicker. And because of him saying that, that makes me think, are we going to see Justin Gaethje turn into a wrestler?
Like, oh, you're a wrestler now.
He was a state champion. He had a very decorated high school and college wrestling career, but we never see it in the octagon. That's because he loves to knock people out. But last time, it was Justin Gaethje on the receiving end of the knockout. And that's just because that's the way Justin Gaethje fights every single time. Yes, he got knocked out cold last time, but will he change anything? I don't know. The fight's still the same, but the approach, that could be different. Now, when you look at the career of Justin Gaethje, 13 fights in the UFC, 13 bonuses in the UFC. Every single fight, he has got either a performance bonus, a fight of the night, a knockout of the night. He has got a bonus every single time, which is ridiculous. He's tied with Nate Diaz, Frankie Edgar, and Cub Swanson for the 3rd most fight of the night bonuses. Performance of the night bonus 5 times versus Michael Johnson, James Vick, Donald Cerrone, Tony Ferguson, and Dustin Poirier twice. The man's never, ever in a boring fight. However, didn't mean to rhyme there, he did get knocked out cold. So what changes? First of all, he's had a long layoff. It was April last year, so about 10 months. He's had 10 or 11 months to get over that psychologically and think about himself as a fighter and what he needs to do differently. And when I spoke to him, he said one of the main things that he needs to do is go back to being that vicious killer that he was in the WEC. This often happens with fighters. As we mature, as we get older, we start to understand the game more and we start to get a bit more technical. For example, in my career, when the referee would say fight, I was on autopilot and I would go at them just a pure blaze of aggression and I would get the finish. If you ask me afterwards what happened in the fight, I had no idea. But as I got older, as I got more mature, as I learned to handle the emotions, you start to slow it all down a bit in your mind, which is great, but you do lose a little bit of that wildness. Now, Justin Gaethje is talking about harnessing that and going back to that. Now, he got knocked out really badly last time. The worst knockout in my career was UFC 100 against Dan Henderson. My next fight was 3 months later. Now, when I walked out from my next fight, I was a little bit gun-shy. I was a little bit tentative because it had only been 3 months. Justin Gaethje's had 10 or 11 months, something like that. So I think that ain't going to be a problem. As far as Rafael Fiziev is concerned, he hasn't fought in the octagon since September 2023. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. One, of course, to Justin Gaethje in that close fight that we talked about. And secondly, to Mateusz Gamrot. But it's not like he got his ass kicked against Mateusz Gamrot. In fact, he was winning the fight. He was looking like the deadly striker that he normally is. And he was controlling him with the big, wild, fast, aggressive, powerful hooks. Stands there, throws a hard body kick. Looks like the right leg connected with the elbow, but the left leg, the supporting leg, when he tweaked it, when he rotated, he must have tore a ligament or something like that. He hits the canvas, grabs his knee, screaming his head off, and that was it. And that's all we've seen from Rafael Fiziev. And he's had to watch the entire division move along. He's had to watch the rise and the dominance of Islam Makhachev, a man that is now heralded as the greatest fighter in all of mixed martial arts, the pound-for-pound GOAT. Don't tell me that Fiziev isn't pissed off. Don't tell me that he doesn't want to be amongst it, that he doesn't feel like he can compete with these guys. So that's why he raised his hands. Now, of course, it's a spot on a pay-per-view. There's a lot of money to be made. We all want to be champions. And, of course, he's been away from the octagon as well. But I think he's stepping back in there and putting his hand up, not for a payday, not for a paycheck, not to be a badass, because he actually believes that he can beat Justin Gaethje. And, of course, that's what he's supposed to think. Every single fighter, even though it's a tough situation, even though you look at somebody like a Justin Gaethje or whichever opponent it is in the relevant weight class, you got to look at them and think, shit, the guy's good. He's strong. He's powerful. Holy cow, he's never been knocked out or whatever. But I feel like I can beat him. So fair play to them two. I cannot wait for that one. I think Justin Gaethje is going to go out there. He's going to know that Fiziev is going to be dangerous in the first round. I think he's going to play it safe. He's going to have his hands high. He's going to have his chin tucked in. And he ain't going to be shooting takedowns. I know he talked about submissions, but I just don't think that's in him. I think there's a reason why throughout all of his career, why he hasn't used the wrestling. And it's kind of the same thing with Michael Chandler. When he fights Paddy Pimblett, I don't think he'll be shooting takedowns. Number one, that's advisable because Paddy's best chance is on the ground. But it's because when Michael Chandler fights, he's a performer. When Justin Gaethje fights, the animal within inside takes over. And he's like, everything's out the fucking window. Let's go. Straight up violence. And that's why we love Justin Gaethje. Now, I know a lot of people think that me and Justin Gaethje have some kind of issue. That couldn't be farther from the truth. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the guy. Listen to the way that I'm talking about him. Of course, at UFC 286 when he fought Fiziev, Kamaru Usman, his teammate, also fought Leon Edwards. And Gaethje thought I was a little bit biased on the commentary.
But I'm probably as biased as the judges. Certainly not as biased as Michael Bisping, who shouldn't have been nowhere near a microphone.
I wasn't at all. In fact, if anything, I go the opposite way. I get a little bit overly harsh on the UK guys to compensate for any perceived bias. But he thought I was biased and he talked a bit of shit. And at the post-fight press conference, he said I shouldn't be anywhere near a microphone ever again, right? I shot him a DM. I was like, what the Gaethje, come on, man, I'm a fan of you, but stop that shit. You're talking out your ass. We filmed a movie together last year. So we're on this movie set here in Atlanta. I'm with John Anik, you might have seen, but fortunately I haven't got to deal with any of the divas like, whoa, look at this guy. Oh, Justin Gaethje. The night, we went over. I said, hey, Gaethje, we good? We both laughed our heads off. We went out. We had some drinks. We had dinner. We had a steak. So there's absolutely no issues between me or Justin Gaethje whatsoever. So the full lineup for UFC 313 is complete, and I can't wait for it. Of course, main event, Alex Pereira taking on Magomed Ankalaev. Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. Jalen Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. That fight is going to be ridiculous. I'm telling you, two long, tall, incredible strikers. Then we've got Amanda Lemos taking on Yasmin Lucindo. King Green taking on Maurizio One-Shot Rufy. Keep an eye on that name. I'm telling you, if he gets through Bobby Green, nothing but big things. There's your main card. I'm still in the Hall of Fame. I'm still in the antique store. I've still got computer issues. If anybody lives in the Orange County area and knows how to fix a Panasonic Lumix and set the settings and get the aperture and the frame rate and all that shit right, hit me up because I'm going to smash my bloody computer and my camera. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, ring the bell. See you soon.